You ready back there? Seven o'clock. I'm going to call this meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance if you are able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. This meeting is being recorded live on YouTube's CNET channel. Let's see here. Are there any public comments on any items that are not or on the agenda or off the agenda? This would be the public's chance to speak. Yes, please.
Donna Hughes from 3050 Marengo Road. Just a quick question. When's the display case going to be repaired?
Well, we were hoping somebody would come forward and admit their guilt. I hadn't really thought about it, to tell you the truth. I suppose we can put that on.
I just keep noticing it when I come in. Oh, it's not
Yeah, it doesn't look very good.
Staff's debating right at the moment. Each time we seem to put the thumbtacks in, it's starting to give a little more. So the question is, do we replace just the plexiglass or the whole thing? That's what we started debating over the last couple weeks. We're probably going to bring quotes back, I'd say, our next meeting, whenever that would be, of probably both options.
It's been there a while.
Oh, yes.
27
They're
years.
surprisingly expensive, so we've been trying to weigh our options.
Okay. I thought we built that one.
I believe we did.
Yep.
Way back when.
All right. Any other public comments? Okay. Next up, looking for approval of the minutes of June 22nd, 2023. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve.
Got a motion. Do I hear a second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion by the board? Hearing none, call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes approved. Consent agenda. The following items are on the consent agenda. The general fund in the amount of $32,971.71. The open space preservation fund in the amount of $340. And the state highway liquid fuels money in the amount of $231. And also set trick or treat night on October the 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. with an inclement weather date of Wednesday, November the 1st, same times. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion by the board? Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Approved. Next up, we're going to hold a public hearing for the open space preservation lease for the Sandra Podersky property, which is located adjoining the Way property on the western side of Stormstown, western and the south side of Route 550. The time is now 7:03, and I will begin the public hearing. If anybody would like to testify, please raise your hand. Let the hearing begin. Have any comments, questions, concerns? Here comes somebody. I'll wait just in case. Ms. Miller, do you have any comments or questions on the Podersky property you would like to testify for, to or against? Okay. All right, hearing none. Any comments by the board?
Is this the time that we make our comments, or are you going to?
Well, if you're going to present testimony, you can make it now. If you're not presenting testimony, you can discuss it when we go to make the motion.
Okay, I'll reserve mine.
Okay. I'm going to close the hearing at 7:04 p.m. Let it be on the record that nobody had any comments. Okay. Next up, Sandra Podersky Open Space Preservation Lease, discussion and possible action. There are 3 resolutions involved with the open space lease. One is the conservation lease agreement itself, a memorandum of the lease, and the amendment of conservation agreement. which are the resolutions 2318, 2319, and 2320. At this time, is there a motion to go forward with one or all of the resolutions?
I have a comment I'd like to make with regard to this. I did attend the Open Space Preservation Board meeting yesterday, and there was a lot of things discussed. One of the things that was discussed was buying permanent easements for the properties that are in the program. And from what I could gather in that discussion and the latest numbers that I've seen, apparently that would be a desired outcome, is to buy permanent leases, meaning there's no longer an annual payment made for each of these properties. That requires a significant amount of income. It can't be done in 1 year. It would have to be done over multiple years. But the concern I have about adding properties to the program is that for every property, and this is my opinion, my observation, or my understanding of the program, every time we add property to the program, we move further away from our ability to buy the permanent easements for the properties that are currently in the program, if you understand what I'm saying. And I know this has probably been on the table for a while in discussion, that the property owner would like to participate. I understand that. So it's a kind of a difficult situation to be in for me personally. But I believe that we need to be careful about what we want the long-term, what the long-term to be. And I think the best thing for us to be able to do, and I heard that from Reed Moyer yesterday as well, ideally we would buy permanent leases and end the program at some future point. That, I think, is a good goal. And that's something I would like to see happen, personally. I know the other board members have different opinions, I'm sure, but I have difficulty continuing to vote to approve properties to be placed into the program for that reason. Okay, I'm sure it's a fine property. I think there are alternatives to protecting open space. I think I've said that before. If it's agricultural, prime agricultural land, if it's being used by an agricultural concern, why not as an alternative? And that's not ours to decide or ours to debate, but why not purchase the property and use it for that purpose? That preserves it for agricultural use. So I'm having difficulty with where we're heading, and I just wanted to say that it always comes down to a vote, and I respect that, but that's my opinion.
Ms. Hartle.
Yes, I understand what Mr. Sabella is saying, but being a longtime member of the Open Space Board, the Podersky property has been in the works for quite a long time and is a highly desirable property and rated very high on our scale. And just because somebody else buys it doesn't mean it would be development, and it would be prevented from being developed. And also, we do have the funds to do this, and also we discussed this last night too, is that it's not realistic to think that everybody in our current property would be willing to permanently preserve their property. So this property basically stops the development from coming out past the trees on Ira, out of the Chanelli development, and having houses sit out there basically in the cornfield. So and preserves the ag land. That's all ag land. So while I understand the concern, I still think that this is a property that should be locked up, and we definitely have the funds to do it. And that's what I would add.
Anybody else have any comments on it? I'm going to just throw in my 2 cents here. I was favorably impressed with Reed Moyer's presentation last night. I thought he did a great job. He was able to show that the open space program is in good financial condition. I think it's been very successful. Patty, you have, how many acres do we currently have without the Podersky property? Do you know, or? or what that would add up to.
60.
We have about 30 properties, but what's the
Well, I
acreage?
mean, so,
2,200?
Is it 2,200 with or without?
It is 2,080.8437, but I believe that does include the new addition.
okay, so we have 2,000 acres just, or will be in the township's program right now, plus game commission, game lands, plus, I guess what we have in the county program as well.
How many acres is the game lands? Is it 1,600?
It's not all in our township.
But it is 1,600, right?
In ours or total?
Total.
I
I
used to know.
believe
what-
it's something like
I
1,600
think
acres.
176 is bigger than that, actually, but.
It could be larger even, but I thought it was, well, actually, I thought it was 1,600 in our township. I mean, it's a huge
I
tract
also
within the township.
Don't have that number offhand, but I think we could probably figure it out. So-
Okay, it's immaterial, but it does illustrate the significant amount of land preserved by other means.
Yep.
And there are, my point earlier was that there are other means, even land trusts, even bequeathal to conservation groups. You know, there's different ways of doing this.
And I
without the
think-
township having to incur the
Yeah.
burden of cost.
I think the Open Space Board is trying to work along that line to get other county and other organization revenue as well. But I think we got a pretty good program right now as it stands, but, so do I hear a motion from anybody to approve the resolutions?
So moved.
Okay.
Resolutions or the first one?
Well, I was gonna do all
They're all
three
related.
unless,
I understand they're all related, but there wouldn't be 3 resolutions if they didn't mean different
I think there was
things.
just name changes from what I saw in there, right? How would you prefer, Amy?
I prefer them separately
Okay.
because one
Okay.
is for the advance. and
Okay.
So
Okay.
all right,
Which
so,
one?
2320 is the
Okay.
advance.
So I move that we approve resolution 2023-18.
which is the conservation lease agreement. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion by the board on the conservation lease agreement? All right, call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Now,
You're a no? Ron's a no. All right, 4-1. Resolution 2023-18 is hereby approved. The next resolution up on the list is a memorandum of lease, and that's 2023-19. Do I hear a motion to approve that resolution?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion by the board?
do I need to vote on this?
Do you need to?
Well, the memorandum of lease is it sets the.
The motion's
term-
passed.
Term of the lease. So if you didn't vote on the first one, I don't know why you would vote on.
But you could vote on it.
You could,
Since
I mean, it's passed,
Yep,
yeah.
so it doesn't matter what I voted.
it's a legal document, so,
Well, that's the reason why I asked, because I
Right.
didn't know what to do with
Sure.
that. so.
okay. Any other discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Do I hear a motion to approve Resolution 2023-20, amendment of the conservation agreement?
And this is approving a 10-year advance request for $16,397.85.
Which, if the township puts the property into a permanent conservation easement, we get the advance money back. So,
Or it's negotiated
yeah.
in the price of the,
Yeah, and
Yes.
this has been a common practice. This has been in what we've been doing since the inception of the program.
we
or
actually
near-
have not bought
No.
any of the permanent purchases from any.
No, not
land-
that, the 10-year,
The
the.
advance.
Yes, we have
advance.
done advances.
But that did not begin at the inception of the
No,
program.
I think it was
That
a little
added.
later.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to
Well, that
clarify.
was like,
But we,
the second year after the program started, they did that because people weren't getting in.
I thought it took, Reed mentioned 7 years.
It was a couple years, yeah. I don't
Well,
know
it
the
was
exact number.
discussed, I'll
but it
have
was
to
a
say.
couple
Right,
years.
I was here, I don't know.
It was
you
to
know.
incentivize people to participate.
Yep. Okay, do I hear a motion to approve 2023-20?
so moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion by the board?
No, I don't like the advance either. If
Okay.
people are interested in getting into the permanent easement, which is great. They should just work towards that and not put this in as a level.
All right, any other discussion?
I have
Or
one
do you have
question.
anything else to add?
One
Roseanne?
question about it.
I don't.
If you pay a 10-year advance, what are the savings up front during that 10-year period? Is it, when you make the payment, does it change, so the CPI from year to year for the first 10 years no longer has any effect, right?
Right, because you're getting the first year's payment at the rate.
You're paying
of the
all
first
10
year.
years, you're not adjusting it year to year.
That's correct.
You're making one payment for 10 years.
No.
If I'm
They
understanding what you're
still receive an
saying,
annual
no,
payment
it'll
within
come
that
off the
10 years.
back end.
It comes off the
So
back
it's
end of
not
the
a
lease.
1-year advance, or 10-year advance payment then?
It is.
It is, it's coming off
But
the
it's
back
off the
end of
back
the
end of the
lease.
lease.
But
No,
he's
that
saying at the
works.
rate, what rate, do we just pay, so 10 years, we're paying at the current rate, the $40?
We would give her a check for the 16,000 at the end of the year, which would be pretty much you're saving money on the back end because the way the program's designed is it only gains.
But it's for 40 acres at the current rate.
Right.
But it's a lump sum payment
Right.
Correct.
for 10 years.
Correct.
You're not still making an annual payment.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we will.
Because
Until,
year two,
until
you
10
can
years
get-
before
So
the
you're
lease
making an advance
expires.
payment and then a
Advance.
payment every year.
For
You're
90
taking
or
you're
89
taking off
years.
the last 10 years of a 100-year lease.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
And what's to
Got ya.
stop people from asking for a 20-year advance or a 30-year advance?
It's limited to 20.
Yeah.
20 is,
Be 10 or
is the
20.
most anyone can ask for. You can't ask for it again, 20 is the limit.
Mrs. Hughes.
Yeah, a comment a little bit about looking at this from farmers' perspective. And a lot of farmers in a lot of different areas have ended up selling property as they reach retirement age because they might not be healthy enough to continue farming, and that's essentially their retirement. I think that has driven a lot of farmers selling to what ends up being development. And so I think that kind of a cash payment up front and continue then for the year is very attractive to somebody that really wants to keep their land as a farm, but really can't afford to live otherwise.
Or can no longer afford to live on the property they've been working on for 40 or 50 years.
And they're older, so they won't get many.
Yeah, if
leases, but
they're
it's-
older, health's declining. I mean, I personally, I know that's what has driven people.
Anybody else? All right, call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, two nays and 3 pluses. Okay, motion 2023-20 is approved. Next up, Clearwater Conservancy funding request, discussion, and possible action. Clearwater, you're up.
I have a memo up here, basically saying what Ryan had come and asked for at the last meeting.
Yeah, we have the memo explains it, but I can summarize briefly. We've been working with the Open Space Committee to identify properties where Clearwater and the committee or the township have common interests in seeing them potentially permanently preserved. Can
you state your name?
I'm
and
sorry,
who you work
yes.
for the record, please.
Thank you. Ryan Hamilton. I work for Clearwater Conservancy. I'm the land conservation manager there. So we worked with the committee to identify the Joanne Fisher Farm as a conservation priority to make it a permanent easement. We've also partnered with the Center County Agricultural Preservation Board. And following in the county ag pres footsteps, they came to the Board of Supervisors and the Open Space Committee last August, I believe, to request a contribution from the township for half of the acquisition cost for the ag land easement. We would be similarly holding the permanent easement on the woodland. So we've asked the committee and the township for a commitment to contribute half of that cost, the acquisition cost for the woodland, and we'll work to raise additional dollars through grant funding primarily to complete the project.
I have a question.
Please.
Along that line. What was the total amount? I think it's an up to amount, I believe. But what is the total with the township and with the county combined for the agricultural land?
The acquisition price. I don't know if I have the specific number in front of me, but for the woodland, it's 53 acres. Clearwater was asking for the price, the cap in the ordinance is $1,000 an acre for woodland. So half of that, $26,500. The County Ag Preservation Board, they were looking at a permanent easement on just over 112 acres. So I believe they asked for $224,000 from the township as half that acquisition cost.
So theirs is a matching amount?
What do you mean by that?
Okay,
Yeah.
224,000,
Yeah,
is that a total? That's half.
that's half.
Of the acquisition cost for the agricultural land.
Correct.
So who pays the other half?
So the county has done their own fundraising. They're getting dollars from, I believe, through the, I don't want to speak for them, but I believe through the county program, they have dollars available each year. And they've also gone to the state to get additional funding for this project.
Okay, so again,
Yeah.
how much is the total
So
being given to the property owner for the conservation and the permanent easement? What's the total amount?
I don't know that.
We don't know, we don't have an amount?
I don't know, I was not told an amount yet, so I
I
don't
mean,
know.
if that's half
appraisal.
of the total, that's $448,000.
That was the cap.
That was the-
that's the cap.
That's a
So-
cap.
Yeah, so the,
4,000 an acre.
Right.
that's based on the ordinance cap, and the property needs to be appraised before an easement is put in place. From Clearwater's perspective, we can never pay more than an appraised value. So if
Okay.
that appraised value were
So these are estimates then?
based on the ordinance, yes. Yeah.
It could be less, it could be more.
It could be less.
It's possible.
It can't be more.
I'm just trying to understand the
Yeah.
The
numbers.
appraised value could be more, but we can't pay more. So then.
Yeah, I understand. I just was for a long time now, I've been trying to understand the numbers,
Yeah,
the totals, where all the money's coming from and how much it is.
yeah,
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
Now, there is, the real estate appraisal has not been done, and that appraisal would be just on the value of the development value of the property, not the value of the land. Is that correct? Is that how that works?
Yeah,
For you guys?
from our perspective, we typically get two values. It's a fair market value for the property as a whole, and then the development rights or the easement value is a separate value.
And what would you like from us tonight?
So this evening, I'm hoping for a commitment for the $26,500 because we can use that as match to go seek grant funds to raise the additional dollars to complete the project.
That would be the township would commit to donating up to that amount, but it could be less, correct?
Doesn't sound like it.
Well, I'd be asking for that amount.
Okay. I'm just trying to get clarification.
Yep.
And the Fisher property is already, the ag land is already in our program. That permanent easement's been
It-
approved, right?
Terminated that lease to work with
The county to put in a permit.
That was
Okay, so
taken
that's in
out of the
process,
lease.
And we've
That's in
already
process.
approved that.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I'm
You're
just trying
just-
to sanity check, know where we are.
You're just looking for the 26,500 approval by the township.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, does anybody from the board have any additional questions or comments they would like to add on that matter?
Well, this is just finishing up her property into permanent easement at a lesser rate because it's woodland instead of prime real
A
estate.
great deal lesser rate, I
Right.
think.
Right.
Do I hear a motion to approve the funding?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, other discussion by the board? Hearing none, call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion approved. All right, we have committed.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. Next up, let's see, Center Region COG Program Plan Discussion. Everybody's filled out their boxes on their sheets. Amy did a, what you call that, a collage of everybody's opinions?
Consensus.
Trying to put it all together.
Yeah, I tried to take everybody's comments, since they were asked for a consensus of the comments and not individual comments, and tried to come up with a response based on the consensus of the comments.
Everybody had a chance to look at our comments as Amy put them together.
Yeah, I think they were fine.
All right, well, I guess we need to make a motion to approve it and send it on to the COG. Yeah, go ahead, Patty.
I just want to note that I was not in consensus with virtually all of the comments that were in here. So, basically, for the COG municipal, for the administration budget, or for 2023, I think we paid around $39,000, which isn't even really a full, anywhere near a full person with benefits, and we get so much more than that, and you can't expect an agency in a developing area not to be able to pay their people fair market value and to have the people that they need. You can't just keep moving around or having people go for things they're not qualified to do. So if you put this, if you need more people and you're not paying a market value, well, what's going to happen? Those people aren't going to be there for the long term, and turnover is much more than paying people fair market value. So I disagree, and we had a study. We paid as for a professional study of the salaries and of the positions, and this board was basically just ignoring all that. And then there was one down here for somebody for grants, and if there's millions of dollars of grants out there that you need expertise and things to go after, and we don't have the manpower or the expertise there to do that, then we're just leaving all that money on the table for roads and things. So I don't think there was that, I'm not sure that people really looked at the justifications or thought about this in the long term, but
I
that's
beg
my
to
opinion.
differ there. I
But-
have been on the oh, I'm sorry.
Let
not
Patty
done.
go ahead and
Yep.
finish up, and then I'll
Yep.
move to Roseanne.
Yep.
Yeah, and
I'm
whatever
sorry.
the reasons were, and there were a couple things that I thought could be scaled back or that we may not need, but that was one or two of these. So that was my main point. And even just like with the municipal or with the county planning, we know that the planners have been down, several planners for a long time, and they're having trouble hiring. And we didn't approve a $7,500 AmeriCorps person to help them out. I don't understand that, but that's all I have to say at this point.
As part of the HR committee, I have been working with this for the last year. We've received updates. This whole plan came through. Ron being alternate on the HR committee. We had a meeting with Mr. Nornberg and the HR person up at COG. The day before the meeting, the plan was finalized and released. And we expressed concerns at that time. The report came out at 5 o'clock on Friday. The HR meeting had been on Wednesday at 12:15, and we were expected to read through the 113-page report, approve it, and improve their implementation, which in some cases, people got raises as high as $15,000 from what they're currently making, and it was going to be implemented on November 10th. And then January 1st, they get their yearly raise, which would add another $5,000 to their wages within 2 months. That, to me, seems ridiculous. and even the amount of time between Friday and Wednesday to read, digest 113 pages of report, accept it, and then use one implementation. There were no other options. It was accept it, implement it November 10th, raises on January 1st. Some of the people got $15,000 raises. I had some ideas. We discussed it at the HR meeting. This was the same motion we were supposed to accept at the HR meeting. The motion was changed to accepting the report with concerns, and there was nothing said about implementation. And I'm seeing this again, like our meeting meant nothing. That's all I have to say. If what I have to say on behalf of Halfmoon Township in a committee meeting means nothing, then I'm wasting my time going. That's all I have to say.
Anybody else from the board?
Well, to address an earlier comment, I did in fact read these reports. I read the program plan, I read the classification and compensation study, I read the CIP plan. I've attended the finance committee meetings, the executive committee meetings. I was just at the finance committee this morning, so this has been discussed over and over again. I do understand what it says. I made my comments based on what I saw, based on my experience as both an employee and as a senior manager of in several employments in my career. And I've never seen anything like this before, except with the possible exception of the university. This is the same kind of classification and compensation system study or program that the university implements. So I see an emulation there between the university and the COG. I had made comments that one of my big concerns about this is the market that was used. I understand a consultant was hired to do this. The consultant worked with the staff of COG to perform the study and the analysis. Okay, there was no input during the process of compiling all this information. There was no involvement on the part of elected officials. Maybe some people asked some questions of some of the municipal managers, but I wasn't asked about this when it was being developed. I have a lot of concerns about that, about who prepared the report. I have concerns when I hear that the employees knew what was in this plan before the municipal boards knew it. And I'll tell you what, if you want to set up a straw man for failure, that's one way to do it. Just raise the expectations, okay, so that you can drop the hammer after the fact. So I do not like being put in a position where I'm shamed into voting for something that I don't believe in. And this is one such thing. Is there any merit to it? Well, there might be. Okay, my biggest concern is the market that they used. This program plan, in addition, has 14 new positions, from what I can understand here. The new classification compensation system applies to every position. So there is a significant increase in the size and scope and cost of the COG. And I honestly think that they've lost sight of their purpose. In terms of meeting the needs, the demands for their services, well, there's a thing called rebalancing in the management world, in the business world. Okay, you have to change, everything changes. That's one thing that's constant is change. So you have to be flexible and able to change your resources to meet the needs. Sometimes you can't do it, sometimes you have to hire. But what I saw was a list of, here's what we can do with these positions. But I didn't really see any justification in terms of work measurement to determine what was the justification for additional positions. Didn't see that. I see a lot more titles, I see a lot of directors in an organization of 99 people. So I have a lot of concerns with this, and I think I expressed them adequately in my comments. Thank you.
Anybody else from the board?
I believe those 14 positions were over a period of 5 years, 5 to 8 years, not all in this coming year.
Okay, fine. And then I don't know what the long-term plan is beyond 2028 with regard to facilities. Isn't that interesting? 2028 is a magical year between the municipalities and COG. That is the year that the lease on the building ends. And COG takes possession of the building or ownership of the building. I'm not sure, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it as to how an entity that is a service organization can actually own property. So I'm still trying to get my head around that one, but I'll just leave it there.
Do I hear a motion to approve the report as Amy has assembled it? And
So
send it out to
moved.
the COG. Do I hear a second?
Yes.
Moved and second. Any other discussion by the board? Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
1 nay. All right, moving on. Township reports. We have a treasury report, secretary's report, and a public works department report. Does anybody have any questions for those individuals regarding their reports or information? Hearing none. Is Ms. Squire on the horn tonight or not? Anybody have anything under diversity, equity, or inclusion? Okay, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Do I hear a second? Second. Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Meeting is done at 7:36 PM. Have a good evening, everyone.